Jackpot. Okay. So thank you all for joining today. I'm sure we're going to have more people. I'm gonna get the start the show early, 5:04. Um, and I'd like to introduce you all to the presenter of Basics or Basics Email, Mr. Richard. Oh, hold on. Aloha, my name is Austin Landon, and I am the Athlete Leadership Contractor, and Leo's on the call as well. But we'd like to both introduce you all to our presenter. He's going to be talking about basic email, and round of applause for Richard. Richard. Oh,
Well,
and don't forget my bad. While Richard is speaking, please be respectful and mute yourself. And if you have a question, like in the middle, raise your hand, and we'll be sure to answer your question. Or if you have a question, pop it in the chat. Leah or myself will be sure to respond if when we see the chat board. Feel free to raise your hand. So.
And Austin, I'm just gonna quickly jump in. I'm guessing that Richard probably does have some good tips to share, but we're not gonna put him on the spot today because he wasn't planning on being our presenter.
We won't
Otherwise, don't want to throw him under the bus without a warning. We had a different presenter who was originally going to be here today, and unfortunately he wasn't able to. But I'm going to be giving the presentation today to talk about email basics. So you guys will have to bear with me in my presentation, but I think it'll be a good discussion. I'm hoping we can talk through some of the most important pieces in using email. And I know all of you are, you're all leaders and you do use email. So I think this will hopefully be a good way to really dial in on some of the most important aspects of using email. And then I'd love to hear more about the tools and best practices that all of you use too when you're communicating over email. Awesome. So I will be sharing my screen in a moment. I have a quick poll to do with you guys first. Okay, so you should see that on your screen. There are two questions. The first one is asking about what email account you use. So the first one is I have my own email, I use my parents' email, I don't use email, or I'm unsure. I'll give you guys a few more seconds here. About half have responded so far. Okay. I think that's about everyone. Oh, sorry, I didn't read the second question. The second question is about how comfortable you are using email. I think you guys got that in there. So as you can see in this group, it looks like almost everyone has their own email that you use to communicate. So that's great. And it looks like most people feel pretty comfortable. So that's awesome. I think that means that we'll have some good, we can have some good discussion today around the best practices that you use. We have another person joining us today who I'll just call out. We have Dawn joining us, and she'll be listening closely to hear what we talk about today, because she's going to be helping Special Olympics think about how we can help other athletes and other coaches and volunteers get more connected on technology. So it'll be great to have this group to kind of brainstorm with today. All right, and I'm going to share my screen now. All right, can you guys give me a thumbs up if you can see this? Awesome. Okay. So first we're starting off with why email? So this is maybe seems like an obvious question, but I think it's important to think about really why it can be so useful. So you all are athlete leaders. So you're connected in a lot of ways. What are some reasons that you might use your email? You can feel free to unmute or put your answers in the chat.
The the reason that I think that that email is important is to not only keep yourself up to date, but to keep others up to date with what is going on.
Yeah, that's a great response. You're right. So it's a good way to stay up to date, to share information back and forth. Andrew in the chat said it's a good way to keep in touch. Absolutely. Austin said some people don't have phones, so maybe it's really the best way to communicate any information. Any other
I use
thoughts
my
here?
phone.
Oh,
I use my phone to check my emails.
yeah,
but-
that's a good point.
Yeah.
We can, and we'll talk a little bit more about kind of how it looks on your phone or computer and what's different there. But yeah, absolutely. Ariana said email is important for scheduling. An example is a leadership meetings. That's a great example, Ariana. Devin said email helps you to be organized and informed. Yeah, these are great responses. Here, I'll show you a few ideas that I had.
It's also another way to communication.
Absolutely. Jeff, your hair looks awesome. I'm guessing you're getting ready for your big event coming up in a few weeks.
Uh-huh.
It looks good. Awesome. So these are a few examples that I came up with. So, you know, an email is a good way to maybe communicate with your coach in your Special Olympics coach. You might communicate with staff at Special Olympics Washington. So I think all of you have sent me an email at one time or another. It's a really great way for us to stay in touch. It's a way to talk to other athletes on your team. So most of you are on athlete leadership councils. If you want to check in with another athlete, if you have a question, or you want to maybe schedule a time to get in some extra practice, it's a great way to communicate. Talk to other athletes around the state and around the country. As athlete leaders, you're a part of this really cool system that connects Washington to all, really the whole country, all of the other athlete leaders in Special Olympics North America. So there's possibility to work and talk with other athletes. And then the last one is a lot of what some of you have said. It's a great way to stay up to date on events and opportunities. So
And
for
it doesn't
example,
have to be a Special Olympic events. It could be other events too.
That's such a good point, Sean. Yeah, absolutely. This is, you know, great for participating in Special Olympics, but it also is just a really good tool for your everything in your life. Absolutely.
Oh, and then it's also good if you enter like Zoom Zoom like Zoom Zoom questions like that that I remember answering a question correctly on Zoom, and it's also a good way to let Leah or Special Olympics know how you want to be contacted.
Yeah, absolutely. So just a few notes on what email can be good for, or, you know, really why it is a good tool. So here are a few. So email is so fast. I don't know how many of you send many letters back and forth. Sometimes it's fun to send letters in the mail, but that takes a long time. With email, you could send me an email tomorrow and I can respond to you tomorrow, and then we've got our questions answered. It's free. So that is a really nice, easy tool. It's accessible to everybody. It is easy. So we'll talk today about some of the tools because you could probably spend a whole year learning about all the different things you could use on email. But for the basics of just how to send an email, how to communicate, maybe how to send some extra things, it can be pretty easy. You can do it anywhere. So, I think Colton mentioned he often uses his phone, but anywhere that you have internet, you can access your email. And then the last one is that you have record of your communication. So, sometimes I do this, I send an email or I get an email, but then a week later, I forget some of the details. It makes it really easy to just go back and look at it. If you're in a phone call or talking in person, sometimes you miss some of the details, but an email can be nice because then we have track of that information. Devin said in the chat too, for professional interviews. Yeah, absolutely. It's a really great way to connect with people for a lot of reasons. Maybe in the professional way too. Oh, and Richard said for jobs and for family. Absolutely. I think I saw Chance in the chat say that he had a Gmail account. Does anyone else use Gmail? A few people, and maybe you don't know, it's okay. There are a few different platforms that have email. So you might have an Outlook email. You might have Yahoo or AOL. Ariana says she uses Yahoo. So they're all good options. There's not a bad option. They'll all work. Today we're mostly going to talk about what this looks like using Gmail, but they all look pretty similar.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
I should know because I have actually a work email. Gmail.
Oh, so do you have two emails that you use?
No, so when I set up my Gmail, it's actually a work. So it's a Gmail workspace. So when I go to my email, I'm on like Google and stuff. It's just a workspace Gmail.
So you're familiar with it, yeah, and you have kind of a sense that they look pretty similar.
Yeah, they do.
So we're going to talk through. It sounded like pretty much everyone in this group already has their own email account, so we won't spend too much time on this. We are recording today, so if people go back and look at this later, I still want to go through this information, but we'll be pretty quick. And if anyone has anything to add in, because you all have done this before, feel free to raise your hand or add it in the chat.
Make sure that when you create an email, do not put any of your personal information on.
Yeah, Tim, I'm glad you said that, and that's a really good connection to our next few slides, and I'll show you. So this is what it looks like if you're using Gmail and you're going to create an account. This is pretty easy here. You just go and you click create an account. When you do that, it will ask for a little bit of personal information. And this is information it's safe to share when you're creating an email. So you're going to add in your name, your first name and your last name. And then you'll come up with what you want your email to be. And usually it's some sort of combination of your name. Maybe you add in some numbers. My email for Special Olympics is L Schaffner, my first initial with my last name, but that's totally up to you. And it'll ask for your phone number too. And that's okay to add in your phone number here. Tim, I'm glad you're being careful about sharing your information. This is a place where it's totally okay to share your phone number. Your email will ask for your phone number because if you ever forget your password, you can reset your password if you have your phone number. So it's just a way of keeping track of who you are.
Okay.
It'll also ask you for a recovery email address. So this is that same reason. Maybe you have another email, or maybe your parent has an email that you can put in. And that is, again, just in case you forget your password and you want to be able to check it again. It'll ask for your birthday. because that's another way to double check who you are. They might send you like a happy birthday email on your birthday also. And that's always fun.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Awesome.
Crystal, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I actually wanted to add something to the phone number. If Google has come creative as setting up a two-way verification of getting logged into your account. So if you set that up as well, which will be later, I think, if you have your phone, you can get a code sent to your phone to make sure it's you, kind of thing.
Thank
Wow.
you for adding that, Crystal.
You're welcome.
All right, so that's all part of just starting your email out. And oh, that was a fun animation. Once you have the email, and this is something I'm sure you are all familiar with. This is a screenshot from my personal email. So you'll go to Gmail and you would type in the username that you created and your password. And then this is what it looks like once you're on there. So I'm sure you're all familiar with this, but I wanted to add it in just to make the note that you can tell when it's bolded, that's an email that you haven't read yet. And then the ones that are not bolded are emails that you've already read. And so this is just to make sure, just to give a clear example of what that looks like when you get a new email. So maybe that's me sending you an email to bug you about sending in your athlete leader code of conduct or something like that. Okay, and this is where we're going to spend a little bit more of our time in sending an email, because we really want to talk about some of the different features of email, and then really the best way to send an email, how to do it in a professional way, and how to really use some of the tools that can be really helpful. So the first thing here, these are two different screenshots. This first one is from Google, and then the second one is actually Outlook. And I just wanted to show you two different examples of what this might look like when you send an email. So does someone know the difference between using the to line and the CC line and the BCC line?
Yes. CC is carbon copy. I don't know if CC is carbon copy, and I am not sure what BCC is, but I do know that CC is carbon copy, right, Leah?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And do you know what it means if you were to put, so let's say you're sending an email to Crystal, what's the difference if you put her name on the to line as opposed to the CC line?
I am not sure, Leah.
Does anyone else know why you would use the CC line?
Is it
I think I know how, Leah.
Yeah, go for it, Devin.
Because I've done it before, and it goes to the person, but also it CCs the other person as well. So because if you send it out, it would go to those two people on the email, and that's the same thing with the BCC line as well.
You're right. So yeah, that's the interesting thing, because when you put someone on the to line, the CC line, and the BCC line, it'll go to all those people. But there's a bit of a difference between why you'd put them in the different spot. Do you know, Sean?
I think it's kind of like you're sending a group email. So you're sending it to more than one person.
Yeah. So let's see. If you're going to send an email, so I'll keep with my Crystal example. So maybe I want to tell Crystal about a meeting that's coming up. So I'm going to put her in the to line. I'm going to say, Crystal, we're having an email training. I really want you to come. And I want Devin to know that I've invited Crystal. Devin isn't planning on coming, but I just want her to know that Crystal's been invited. I'll put Devin on the CC line, and that's sort of like it's like an FYI or It's to make sure that Devin knows what's going on, but I'm not directly talking to Devin. I'm talking to Crystal.
So then what you're saying is, you want Devin to know that, you want them both to know that there is a meeting coming up, right, Leah?
Yeah, so the two line is for the people that you're directly talking to. That could be one person, or it could be a group of people, like you said, Sean. But that's the people who you're directly talking to. The CC line is optional. And that's in case you want somebody else to know that you're sending the email, but you're not talking directly to them. And as you said, Tim, CC stands for carbon copy, which is kind of an old term to use now. But if you've ever gone to like maybe the doctor or filled out a waiver at like a gym or something, there might be a few pieces of paper that are stuck together, and one of them is maybe white, and then the next one's yellow, and the next one's maybe blue or something. And when you write on it, it presses through to the bottom pieces of paper. Have you guys ever done that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Or the other example, Leah, is if say that if you are at a basketball Special Olympics basketball tournament and you got selected for the Special Olympics state tournament, then you would have to the doctor fill out things and saying that it is okay.
You're right. And so the reason I brought this up is that extra piece of paper that that the mark presses onto, maybe the yellow piece of paper, it's sort of an extra one, that's called a carbon copy, because it's a copy of what you just wrote. And so similarly, that's why it's used in the email. It's an extra copy of the email. So like Devin said, you're informing the other person, but you're not directly talking to them.
And it's also kind of like a business too, like a job, because some jobs actually have like another white people on top. And when you go to sign it, you'll sign it to the next paper below. So that person would get that paper as a receipt saying, oh, you bought this, you bought a piece of lumber or something like that. And so that's telling you, oh, okay, I bought lumber from Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, what company, to basically say, oh, this is what you bought. So that way the owner of that company keeps the white paper and you take the pink paper with you.
Exactly, yeah. And so that's, the pink paper is directly for you, but the other one is like a copy that it's an FYI. Thanks, Jeff. Sean, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I think what he's saying, it's kind of like you're forwarding an email from another person, but that particular person is sending it to you. But that person who sent that email did not type in the email. He got it from another person. I think that's what he's talking about.
Gotcha. Yeah, and we're going to talk about forwarding too, because that's another really good tool. Yeah, Colton? Oh, Colton, you're on mute.
Like, say you have like a group text messaging, like if you have like a sporting event or something, like you can send to you and your teammates. So like what time you have to be at the game, what to bring, all that kind of stuff. So you're prepared.
Yeah, so Colton, I'm glad you brought up that example. So if you might send the email to everyone on your team to say, we're meeting, practice is at 4 p.m. We're going to be at the soccer fields, bring your water bottle. But you might CC like a parent who might be helping out. Maybe you CC, a care provider who's going to help drive the athlete to practice. So you're not it's not directly to them, but you want them to know that the email is sent.
Or the other example is say that if you want you can CC actually you can ask the coach via email what time practices and when to be there, right, Leah?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's a good use of email. So I'm gonna keep going here. So that's CC, and then BCC. Tim, you were right about carbon copy, and BCC means blind carbon copy.
Oh, okay, blind carbon copy. Okay.
So and that one is the person who you put on that line also gets the email, but nobody else can see that they're going to get the email. And you might do that maybe because you don't want the other people to have the email address of the person you put in blind carbon copy. So sometimes if I send an email to a lot of people, I'll put everyone in the blind carbon copy because not everybody wants their email shared. Or you might use blind carbon copy because you want somebody, you don't want everyone to reply and to bug the person who's on blind carbon copy. You only need them to see the first email. You don't need them to see all of the follow-up messages.
Okay.
So it's similar, but it's blind, so no one will see that person's email.
Oh, okay. So carbon copy and then blind carbon copy, right?
Yes. Daniel, do you have a question?
No, I actually have another interesting fact too about like for
Oh, yeah.
email sites, just send in like normal like Word documents. If you want to send someone something like a doctor for like results of something, you can also send picture emails.
Ooh, I'm glad you said that. We're going to be getting to that, Daniel. So I'll let you add in some more when we get there. Okay, so we're going to keep going. So some other things to think about, and we're going to kind of practice this. When you're sending an email, first one is, who is your audience? So how might you send an email to, let's see. So maybe if I'm going to send an email to Colton, who I know pretty well, we're friends, that email might sound a little bit different than if I'm going to email maybe a new person that I've never met at a different organization. My email to Colton might be pretty casual. I might ask him how his practice is going, but the email to somebody that I don't know, it might be a little bit more formal. And that gets into this formal or casual. Email can be a really professional tool. I know some of you said you use it for work. You use it for athlete leadership. That's all a bit more formal, but it could be really casual too. You could send an email to a friend just to check in about something, maybe to a family member to send some photos or something like that. And the subject line. So when we actually get to sending an email, this is what it might look like when you start an email. And we're gonna just talk about a few different ways that we might say here. Oh, and somewhat, let's see. So yeah, Phyllis just said you might receive an email for what sports you've signed up for. Absolutely, it could be a reminder. You've probably all received it. You should have received an email to remind you about this Zoom call. And then Phyllis also said you always send emails out to us, and okay, yeah, so you're getting emails from Social Mix. That's good. So I'm going to show you just a few examples. If you type, so this is an example that's in all bold and all capitals, and it comes off a little bit more intense, kind of like you're shouting. This font here is fun, but it's not very professional. sometimes we'll use different colors to highlight certain things, but if you type your whole message in a different color, that's not very professional either. So really, this is what a more professional writing style would look like, usually in black font and in lowercase. Here's an example of something that might come off as a little bit more aggressive. So this is all caps, and it's kind of a lot to look at. And so here's an example of what it might look like if it's a little bit more professional. So here we've chosen the subject line of ALC meeting, April 2022. That's a nice clear subject line to tell everyone what you're going to say. When here, I'll go back. What are some ways, if you're giving a professional email, what are some ways that you could start off your email? Colton?
Oh, you have to have like a good subject, like a subject title. If you're sending email, like a beginning, middle, and end, and you have to like check your work, make sure it's like good. You don't.
Ooh, that's a really good point.
Or too weak.
One way to start off is by saying your name, like, "Hi, I'm Jeff," or
absolutely some kind of greeting. Introduce yourself, Devin.
I was going to say, introduce yourself.
Those are really good examples. So, and you could say, hello. You could say like, dear Miss Adelman. Hello, Mr. Pugh. Sean, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, you could tell about your name and tell you what you do. Like, I'm a Special Olympics athlete, or I'm a board member.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I'll show you this example. So in this one, I was pretending like I was sending a meeting reminder. And in this case, I knew everyone, so I didn't introduce myself. So I said, hope you're doing well. I'm emailing to remind you of our next ALC meeting. It will be April 25th at 6:00 p.m. Please read the agenda ahead of time. Come prepared with questions. And then remember to answer the questions from our last meeting. Let me know if you have any questions. See you soon. And my name. So I did use some bold here. I used bold. Well, does anyone have an idea why would I have used bold and underline and all caps?
I think the bold and the underline is the important of the date and time.
Yeah.
Of specific meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. So it really draws your attention to it. And then the other thing I'll show you here is that I added in, has anyone ever seen this before where someone might have their name and their contact information at the bottom of their email?
Absolutely, yes.
Does anyone know what that's called?
Isn't that like your office and your work number besides your email?
Yeah, and so it's like your signature. That's what it's called. And so you can actually add in, and I didn't include this, but you can add in your own signature and it can to show up every time. And so you can say, Sean Pugh, I am an athlete leader with Special Olympics Washington. Here's my email and here's my phone number. And then it makes it really easy and everyone knows how to contact you when you send them an email. So a few things I want us to think about, and then we're going to do a practice one. So, and as these, just think about these things as we go through. So the spacing of your paragraphs, you can turn on spelling and grammar check. I think Colton mentioned it's always good to go back through and check what you wrote. And then good to have a nice greeting and closing. So I'm gonna switch over and we're just gonna kind of do a practice one together. So this, can you guys see my email up here?
Yes.
Okay, so this is my email. And this, here's the compose button. So we're just gonna practice doing an email. So I press compose, and then I'm gonna expand this so we can look at just the email. So let's see. Can someone give me an example of an email we might want to send?
An email that we may want to send is, what time is practice and where is the practice location located at?
Ooh, I like it, Tim. So who is this email to?
You, Leah.
Okay, so I'm gonna say coachleah@gmail.com. Let's just pretend that's my email. Is there anyone we'd want to CC or BCC here?
Hmm.
Maybe we want Jeff to know about this email. Oh look, Jeff, I already have you there.
And for the blind carbon copy, it could be lots of people. I
Yeah.
am not sure.
And we might not even need it here. Maybe Jeff also had the same question about practice. And so we wanted to make sure he was going to be included, but the email's not to Jeff. We just want Jeff to know about it. So if we're asking about practice, what should our subject be?
Time.
Spring State Games. How about that?
So spring state games. Yeah.
Yeah. How about that?
So if we're asking about spring games,
Yeah.
sure.
Mhm.
Now, how should I type this?
There you go.
In all caps,
And
or
bold.
it could be.
Yeah.
And how do we start this off? We're emailing our coach. So, Colton, how would you start this one off?
Well, I would say like, if it was my mom, like Coach Pam, like
Yeah. So this one was to Coach Leah. And I'm going to do a comma and do 2 spaces down. And then what Tim, what were you asking?
How if it's for state games, what time is the state games at, and where is it going to be at, and how do we get there?
Ooh, okay. So it sounds like we have a few questions. I'm gonna say I'll do this. Let's see. Few questions about spring state games. So let's see, you said, what time is it?
Where is it, and how to get there?
That's great. I'm gonna add another space and say, thank you. How do you usually like to close out your emails, Devin?
Me, I normally say, thank you for your time.
I like that.
And afterwards, I will saw my name afterwards.
Hmm.
How does this look?
I think it's also, you need to also know what date it is besides the time.
Oh, I like that.
What date is state games?
Nice. Nice. Okay. So we're gonna come back over here. Okay. And a few things I just want to point out because there are so many options, but this first one is in Gmail. This is where you can change the font that you're using. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go back to where we were before. So if we highlighted all of this, we could change what font we want. You can also change how big it is here. Maybe this one's easier to see. You can put it all in bold. Or we could do just a little bit in bold. We could change the color. And we could add bullets like I did here, or numbers. There are a lot of different options. The next thing I want to show you is this button here. Does anyone know what this paperclip does?
I do. I do. It's for attaching files.
Yeah, we can attach files. So why might you want to attach a file?
Well, you might want to attach it if like you're sending some, like if you're in like high school, like send to your teacher, like especially if you're doing a PowerPoint. Because
Yeah.
I do a lot of PowerPoints in school, so you want to make sure you clip it and put like the subject, like for like class you're in, so you can send to your teacher so they can look at it.
That's a great example. You might want to send maybe an assignment. Maybe you want to send in your paperwork for Special Olympics.
What about pictures?
Oh, that's such a good one. You might want to send pictures. Absolutely. So
Or,
I could go in here.
Or you can send music to somebody, right, Leah?
Yeah, you could send them like a link, or you could attach like an audio file. So here I just attached a picture of my dog. Okay. Now, has anyone ever gotten an email that has an attachment? Maybe like an agenda for a council meeting, or if a lot of you have done leadership trainings. So I might send a document with the workbook in an email. I think a lot of you just raised your hand. Does everyone know how to open one of those attachments?
I do.
Looks like most people.
Because when
So-
you
Go ahead, Devin.
so when you sent me for the governance training stuff,
Yeah.
and for the unified leadership stuff, you sent me attachments of files of the presentation.
Yeah, that's another really good example. So Devin and I were doing a presentation together, and so I sent her the information so she could have her own copy of it on her computer. And this is what it might look like. So this first example is in an email. It might show up on the top of the screen. So this is an email that you might have gotten for the leadership trainings, and there would have been these boxes at the top. And when you click on them, you can open up the attachment. And if you get it on your phone, it might look like this picture on the right. So instead, they might be at the bottom in these little boxes, and you'd click on them download and look at them. Oh, Sean's giving us an example. Yeah.
It was kind of blurry, so you probably couldn't see it.
We believe you though. Did it look something like this on the screen? Yeah. Okay. Now something else I wanted to show you here is, does anyone else have a really full inbox with a bunch of emails that get really crowded together and sometimes it's confusing to know where to find your emails? I see Crystal kind of laughing at that one.
I get that
Sorry.
sometimes on
Laughing.
my phone. I get I get a bunch of like random emails from like different things.
Yeah, you might
Like
get random
schools and stuff.
spam emails or advertisements.
I get a lot of the
So-
NHL stuff, looking for like asking me to be a coach and whatnot.
Yeah. So there are a few things. One is that there might be emails that you just don't need and you can delete them to clear them out and organize yourself. And that's this little trash can tool. I'm sure you guys are aware of that. And then the other one is that you can create folders to organize your emails. So you could create a whole folder that is just for athlete leadership. And then all of your athlete leadership emails are in one folder. And the way you do that is with this little arrow button, or it might look something like this next to folders at the top here where it says move. And in this red box, we can see these are all the examples of folders that I already have that we might want to put them in. Or at the bottom, you can create a new folder. And that's a really good tool so you can keep track of all of your, maybe all of your, soccer practice emails. You could have a folder for all of your athlete leadership emails. You could have a folder for work, maybe a folder for family emails. And then you can keep track of where they all are so you're not fishing through all those emails in your inbox. Sean, what were you going to say? And then Devin.
I just wanted to say that if you're going to send an email about a specific event, you got to be sure it's the correct date, because there was an incident with when I corrected with you that you put the wrong date.
I remember that. Yeah. And I think in another day, we'll have to maybe talk about calendars, using calendars on your email and different tools there. Because that's another tool that sometimes helps to stay organized and when meetings are.
So that's really important that you make sure it's the correct date. When
It
you
is.
group emailing.
Because I'm not always going to have a Sean to remind me that I sent the wrong one.
Well, I've got your back.
Thank you. I need that.
Make sure that that the date is the right date and not the wrong date.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna allow you to forget it now.
Devin, go for it.
Okay, cool. So thank you for mentioning the whole folder thing. Because after this meeting, I'm going to create a folder for all of the athlete leadership, for my council's information into a folder after this.
Oh, good. Good.
I think
Yeah.
that is a great way of doing it. So I'm gonna do that after this meeting.
I think so too. It's nice to keep it organized.
I remember very stressed.
Sorry, say that again, Andrew.
I never done to be very stressed.
You're really stressed
Yeah, I can.
when there are too many emails.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I totally know what you mean.
I think I have to go through and fix all my folders.
It's so
Yeah.
good. It's so cool.
It's good to go through and just reorganize for yourself. Sean.
Well, there's also another thing, and I'm not sure if it's on the computer or on your phone, but there's a thing on there that says junk email. So if there's any emails that doesn't interest in you, you just put it into junk or delete it.
That's a good, and so Sean, here, let's see, we can look at, so yeah, like, let's see. Maybe I don't need this. This is for my health insurance. So maybe I don't need this one anymore. So you can, I could say delete it right here. Or maybe I would move this here. And you're right, there is a junk folder too. So these are all my folders on the left. If I scroll, open, I have a lot of folders, so I have to keep scrolling, but there's, and I think, so spam and junk are kind of the same thing. So it maybe automatically put some emails in my spam folder because it thought that I didn't want these. And so sometimes emails will get lost. Maybe you signed up for something and you never got an email. You can always check that spam folder.
That's another thing you got to be careful of is spam emails. If it's a spam, don't open it.
Yeah, that's
Well, I
true.
got one.
We could probably have another whole
Have
training
you,
on that one.
have you guys ever heard like reminders, like on your phone? There's a thing like reminds you of things. Like if you forget, you can just go to reminders, like what you have scheduled for that day and stuff.
Ooh, Colton, that's another one that I bet we could do a training on, where you could show us some different tools for using that tool in your phone. That's awesome.
Hey, Lee,
Devin?
I think, yeah.
Devin and then Jeff.
Or maybe or maybe we're getting a lot of spam calls like on your phones, like spam calling.
Yeah, and so you can, if you get an email that is not a good email, you can use that tool to move it into the spam folder. And then if you got another one from them, it would just automatically go in that spam folder.
Or even social media for that matter too. Maybe they are going or doing that also on social media. So make sure to watch out for spams on Facebook or Instagram.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Twitter.
Jeff, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna let you know that Devin had a hand up.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions or tips that you use or things that you think about when you're sending emails?
Well, when I like check my I go like random like spam phone calls. There's like a thing where you can like block the caller if it's like spam or unknown caller, so they can't like use your number anymore. So
Oh yeah,
like harass you. Like I get that constantly. It gets pretty annoying.
that's a good tool that you can block phone numbers or emails if you're getting spam annoying emails and contacts. Yeah.
Well, on the calls, what I do is I just let it ring. If they send you a voicemail, then listen to it. Otherwise, if they don't send you a voicemail, get rid of it.
Yeah. Darius?
Yes, you can lock your the phone or call the cell phone company. You can tell them which way you can lock them.
So you'll block the phone number on your phone or even tell your phone company?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good to do.
Thank you.
Andrew?
Yeah, do not send that too much an email.
What about on your email?
Don't send too much.
Oh, sometimes it's just too many.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good place to use that, to delete emails, or you can organize them if you need to.
So you gotta be more relax.
Yeah, Leah. Usually if I get spam calls in my contacts list from a random unknown number and stuff like that, and sometimes if I answer it or it's like no one answers, then usually if I block it, I just hit the circle with like the I where it says information and it highlights it, and I just scroll down to where it says block this caller.
Oh yeah. So that's a good that's a good way to do it. Yeah, I think if you
Yeah. And my
you can
mom,
just block the email directly.
yeah, my mom told me about the same person who's been calling me asking like if the head of the household's there. She was like, just tell them like, no, but please take my number off your call list, and then odds are they don't call you again.
Yeah, and guys, I think this is a topic that I think would be maybe a good note for Don, that I think there's a lot of concern around internet safety and best practices there. So these are all good tools that you guys have learned.
1 minute.
Okay,
Thanks,
Devin, I see your hands up.
Yeah, it's about the time.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I think that is all that I have. Austin, I'll pass it back to you